A fan sent me a link about this, and I about cried, quite literally, but not out of joy, but out of pure misery, because there goes about another $145 out of my pocket. So if you're living under a rock and not really in the kaiju community at all, Arrow has just announced their big box set of, quote, the original hero in a half shell. That's right, that's Gamera. And unlike the last terrible collection pack from Mill Creek, where they say it is the complete pack, but exclude Gamera the Brave, here we're actually truly getting all 12 in one go. For the first time ever, thank God. So I heard rumors actually about Arrow doing this a long time ago, and I was excited because, well, quite frankly, I think Arrow is actually a really cool company. They're bigger over in Europe from all that I've seen and all that, I've come across of their stuff. I see a lot of their stuff is marketed towards the European region. Many of their releases have yet to find a Region 1 release for us Yanks over here in Region 1, which is too bad. I do, however, adore their Seijun Suzuki edition. They released a bunch of his early films, and I have both of their volumes simply because, well, he's one of my favorite directors of all time, and that's actually how I discovered Arrow. And I'm not going to lie, I have a region-free Blu-ray-DVD player, so this really doesn't affect me. But the good news is that 90% of everyone else who's listening to this is that they are indeed going to be releasing this pack, the Gamera pack, here in the United States. Which is, when I first heard about this, that was the first thing that actually popped to my mind. I'd also like to say I put these guys right under Criterion and Shout Factory in terms of them caring about what content they put out and what they put on the discs with said content. They really give a crap about what they put out there. They don't just want to put out any movie, and they want to make sure that it is in the best possible quality that they can possibly do with those films. Now, the first thing that jumped out to me was the 4K restoration of the Heisei Gamera films. I've made it no secret of my genuine love for these movies, not just as kaiju films, but as a film in general. I think these are works of art. And while the original release of Guardian of the Universe and Advent of Legion on Blu-ray were decent, the Blu-ray for Revenge of Eris had the worst subtitles I've ever seen in any digital format. Ever. They'd appear, then they'd disappear, and for the special features it was even worse because despite the special features being really, really cool, the subtitles were off by a good 30 seconds. How the fuck does that pass without no one noticing? I don't understand that. And all these movies were not also released in 1080p. My Blu-ray player kept telling me that they were playing at 720p, and that was the resolution that was actually on the disc. So if you're a quality nut like I am, I always thought these Blu-rays, those Blu-rays missed the track hard. And to make bad matters worse, the 11 film collection excluding Gamera the Brave, also released by Mill Creek, had numerous spelling and grammatical errors, making them just utterly distracting, and more than reading subtitles already is. I mean, a lot of people can't read subtitles because they find it distracting. These were, again, some of the worst subtitles I've ever seen put into a film. Plus, I found the picture quality to be lacking. Not terrible. Now, for a while, and I've said this before in other podcasts, I much preferred the Shout Factory DVD releases prior to those Blu-rays. The first two films had loads of really cool special features and two interesting audio commentaries by August Ragone, which, despite the fact that I think that man is a human piece of garbage, they were full of cool information and why I made an old podcast of the original Showa-era Gamera director Noriaki Iwasa. But according to August Ragone, when I went to G-Fest, August Ragone said those DVDs just didn't do very well. So the rest of the Showa era was released as double bills with no special features whatsoever, which is why I never bothered to buy them. See, special features dictate what physical media I get or do not get. It's why I was so hesitant to get the Criterion Blu-rays for the Showa Godzilla films. Most of those special features in that box set were repeats and carryovers from the original Godzilla release. David Callett's 2 audio commentaries, many of those interviews, etc., etc., etc. But I was convinced by them, 1, because I genuinely liked what I was seeing in terms of the film prints, and 2, some new special features with Ishiro Honda and Yoshimitsu Banno, and like the Megalon Jet Jaguar suit actor in there, that convinced me to actually finally get them. But in the end, I do regret buying this set, not because it's a bad set. Far from it. Again, I disagree with those guys who just gripe about the quality of the prints. I think they're fantastic. But I was let down by the special features. I've seen them already. I've heard them already. I can get more and see more by still holding on to my Japanese Blu-rays and the old classic media releases. Again, David Callett's audio commentary for Ghidra the Three-Headed Monster is my favorite audio commentary of all time. A lot of this is due to Touhou being copyright Nazis to the point that I think they'd actually make the Nazis blush. So I don't really blame Criterion for not doing more with what they got. But lucky for us, Katakawa, I think that's how you pronounce it, their pictures, Katakawa Pictures, seems to be a little more easygoing because, you know, this Gamera collector set appears to be chopped full of special features, literally from the ground out. Now, let me read exactly what the Arrow release has stated on their press release. So we got limited collector's edition packaging, which of course is what I'm going to have to get. Housed with a large format rigid box, fully illustrated by Matt Frank. That's cool, we'll get into that a little later. All 12 uncut original Japanese versions of the films in high definition with lossless Japanese and English audio. I'm curious what the dubs are for this package. Are they doing the Sandy Frank dubs? They can't really do a lot of the AIP dubs because they altered the film to release them here on television. So I'm curious what they mean by that. Maybe it's a whole new dub. Don't know, but I'm curious to hear it. 4K restorations of the critically acclaimed Heisei trilogy, Gamera Guardian of the Universe, Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, and Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris. Super excited for that. Again, we'll get into that a little bit more later. And hours of new and archive bonus features, expert commentaries including August Rigone, David Callett, and Steve Reifel, and Ed Gajutetsky. Interviews with cast and crew, and the worldwide Blu-ray premiere of Gamera the Invincible, the American theatrical version of the first film. Hardback 120-page comic book, including a full-color reprint of the 4-issue Gamera comic series originally released by Dark Horse Comics in 1996, and the first ever English-language printing of the prequel comic The Last Hope by Matt Frank and Joshua Bugash. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then a perfect-bound 80-page book, including a new retrospective on the series by Patrick Messias, Kaiju X-Ray illustrations by, I can't pronounce that name, something Yates, Jolyon Yates, and much more. Alright. Kudos that they reached out to Matt Frank. Though I'm not a huge fan of his art style, by God, he's a really cool dude and a major fan, so I'm happy that they went to him. But when I saw commentaries with David Callett, I practically creamed my pants, okay? And so they mentioned hours of archival special features, and I'm curious what they are. If they are carryovers from the Shout Factory releases, I'd actually be happy with that. I thought the special features were fine on those. Simply having those audio commentaries would have been enough for me to buy this set, but also having 4K restorations of the Heisei films, which I truly think are pieces of art, sign me up. As for the comics, yeah, I don't really care about those. I'll certainly check them out, don't get me wrong. But to me, those weren't necessary to get me to buy this series. But a welcome addition, absolutely. Kind of like the booklet that came with the Godzilla Showa Criterion release. Speaking of the Criterion release, I truly think this set, this Gamera set, will beat the Criterion Showa Godzilla releases by a long shot. It's quite clear that Arrow knows they can make a good amount of money with this, and possibly introduce kaiju fans to a whole new company with loads of Japanese cult films and more. So I'm super excited for that, and agree that this is a brilliant tactical move on the part of Arrow. That aside, an 80-page book of the history of Gamera? I read that right? I'm far more interested in this than I am in the comic books. Because I'm telling you, Daiei, the company, Daiei, was a shit show when Gamera was being made. I'm really hoping this book in particular goes into what was going on with this company at the time and just why they went bankrupt, because there's a lot of mysterious gaps in the timeline of event, and I wish there was more info out there. In the very least, especially for Zigra, Gamera vs. Zigra, I hope the audio commentary tackles what was going on at Daiei at the time. And the reason I mentioned Zigra is because Daiei went out of business, and that particular film was released by the Dainichi Eihei. It's spelled Eihai company. Sorry, I'm terrible at Japanese pronunciations. I really apologize. But they also that company distributed a lot of Nikatsu's pink porno films during the low point of Japanese film economy, just to sort of give you a bit of history right there. Now, total disclaimer. I'm not a big Gamera fan. By God, I do. I want this set. But my love for the giant turtle mainly stems from the Heisei series. I find most of the Showa films to be kind of dull and lacking, with the exception of some of Gamera the Giant Monster and the sequel Gamera vs. Baragon. And okay, yeah, I've got a big soft spot for Jiger as well. I do find that movie to be enjoyable. Gamera vs. Baragon is the only one from the Showa series that I truly find to be a genuinely good film, in all aspects. I can also appreciate their entertainment value for children, these movies, absolutely. And again, I did a whole podcast about this, and why I think that's how the Showa Gamera films have succeeded in what they wanted to do. And to summarize what I said in that podcast, I know these films still entertain children because of what I saw at my mother's old daycare when I was in middle school and high school. Those kids, in particular, there was this one named Merrick, just ate this shit up. They loved Gamera. They loved Ultraman. But Gamera was their giant monster. And I gotta thank David Callett for me now having this mentality, because it was he who put that seed into my brain. To quote him from the Ghidra the Three-Headed Monster commentary, and I know he's talking about Godzilla, but the same context can be brought over to Showa Gamera. These films are ludicrously silly and childish. Let's revel in it. And I quite agree. And it's another reason why I'm so happy to live in the time that I do, because I love seeing films like these all getting the respect that they deserve. What a time to be a kaiju fan. But that's not all. I mean, holy crap, I swear I'm almost done rambling on and on. I promise you I'm almost done. This release also announced that it would be the first time that Gamera the Invincible, the Americanized version of Gamera the Giant Monster, will be released in HD. And I literally giggled with this. And some will say that it's on Amazon Prime for free right now. But that's an imperfect quality and an imperfect cut of that version of the film. A few scenes are flat out missing and such. I have no idea if Arrow is just using that print for this, but I hope and think they aren't. Now, why am I so excited over this? Well, it's because I vastly prefer Gamera the Invincible over the original Japanese version. I just think it flows a bit better, and I also find the humor to be kind of funny and fit that movie. Though overall, I still find it to be a very generic giant monster movie. I'm also just very sick of what I have currently for that print of the film, which is a VHS non-letterbox version of the movie. That, and I'm in love with the Gamera theme song because, well, I love the 1960s. So I find it kind of funny how everything's sort of come full circle here, if you really look at it. There's no denying what Gamera is. I mean, let's face it, Gamera is nothing, in terms of when it was created, nothing but a ripoff of Godzilla. And before you hit that dislike button, here's why. It's because it was a cash grab. Daiei needed money, Godzilla was very popular, so they made Gamera. It's a very simplified version of why they did it, but you get the point. It's why the character was created and why the movies were made. A simple cash-in on a popular subgenre of films. And here we are again all these years later where the same damn thing is happening. Criterion's release was a huge success from fans and movie collectors alike. So in comes another company asking, who else is a giant monster that is popular. Well, it can't be King Kong because Universal holds onto that, like Touhou holds on to Godzilla. Ah, yes, Gamera. And here we are. And by God, I love it. Again, it's such a great time to be a kaiju fan. Arrow says to expect these to be released around July 28th of 2020. That, of course, is subject to change, but it's safe to say that we have time to start saving up some chump change in order to buy this collector pack featuring our favorite flying, fire-breathing turtle. And I'm certainly going to indulge myself with this one, because, well, it's kind of odd, really. I think I'm more excited for this than I was for the Criterion Showa Godzilla box set. Despite the fact that I much prefer the Godzilla Showa films to the Showa-era Gamera films. But is that weird? You tell me. So what are your thoughts on this box set? Could you care less? Adam, shut the fuck up already? Which Gamera flick in the two eras are your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. So go on AN Productions, like us on Facebook, follow us, follow our website. Links for all of our social media are in the description below. Stay tuned for our new show being released this week, actually, on Thursday. Antonio, Adam, and Lucas. That's going to be going on for the next 5 weeks. And in the end, this is Adam Noyce of AN Productions saying sayonara.